Thank you very much, Madam President. And before I offer any remarks, I want to say this. My colleague from Western Massachusetts is probably the most dedicated public servant in elective office when it comes to the issue of public higher ed. And any improvement that's been made in the system, whether for the University of Massachusetts, the community colleges, or the state colleges as they exist now, he has had his fingerprints on, and all of our communities are better off for it. I first want to offer some remarks about the underlying bill because I think it's important to understand why we're here. Under the MGLs as they are right now, the legislature has sole ability and responsibility when it comes to naming and changing the name of our state colleges, universities, and community colleges. For instance, the Mass College of Liberal Arts in North Adams, Massachusetts, in the 48 communities that I represent, was at one point North Adams State College. In 1997, that name was changed by an act of this legislature. Those campuses are specifically enumerated in the Mass General laws, and only the legislature has the ability to change those names, whether they were changing the name from the normal school to the state college or from the state college to the state university, as I hope we will do later on. The next point I would like to make about why we're here refers to the last point I made. I mentioned the transition from the normal schools to the state colleges, and now hopefully the transition from state colleges to state universities. Mass College of Liberal Arts, previously North Adams State, was at one point a normal school, a teaching school. It had one initial mission when it started. That mission has changed to meet the needs of the constituents in the surrounding area, be it the Northern Berkshires, be it the Route 2 corridor, or the 32 communities of Berkshire County. And it has changed again to Mass College of Liberal Arts. The entire system, be it a normal school, a state college, or a state university, has had to change to meet the needs of the constituents that we all represent in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So I think it's important to also understand why the change is necessary, and that the change is part of a transition from normal schools to state colleges and hopefully now to state universities. I would also point out that in the bill before us, in the sections dealing with the restrictions on the state colleges, sections 36 through 72 of this bill, the same restrictions that are currently in place on state colleges, that state colleges can only offer doctoral degrees in cooperation and conjunction with the University of Massachusetts, with the university system, are still in place in this bill. That was specifically put in at the Higher Ed Committee level to try and avoid some of that mission creep that the previous speaker mentioned. It may not be enough. I admit that. We may have to revisit that point, and we ought to be diligent in holding these campuses, be they state colleges or state universities, to that commitment. We should also be diligent in holding the bargaining units on those campuses to a commitment that the action that we take today, if it is positive, in no way, shape, or form confers on them any additional status when they get to the bargaining table. Again, not a point that we can guarantee standing here today. All we can offer is our commitment to continue to hold to that promise. We ought to be all able to do that. So it is my hope, Madam President, that the amendment is defeated, not because the sponsor of it hasn't done great work in this area. He absolutely has. It's simply one of those few cases where we disagree. So it is my hope that the underlying bill is adopted and is passed. Thank you, Madam President.